Hola amigos, welcome back to my channel and to my garden on this glorious sunny summer day in Wales. I realise that although I have been on YouTube for over a year now, I've never actually done the BookTube newbie tag, and although I am a writer, I write contemporary romance and the occasional children's book, and at the moment I am working on my first Regency romance. I do also put out BookTube content. In particular, once a month I have a what I read in that month video that comes out. So I have always meant to do the BookTube newbie tag, so I thought, well, why don't I do it now but incorporate it with the BookTube Oldies tag? And then I looked at the questions and I thought, I don't really want to answer all these questions. So then I thought, why don't I just put them together and pick out whatever questions I want to read from whichever of them, and that's what I am going to do today. That is the plan. Okay, so yeah, I've got the questions up here. I'm very organized today. The first question from the newbie ones, I'll work through the newbie ones first, is why did you start this channel? So I started this channel just because I wanted to share stuff. Really, I wanted to share my author journey. I wanted to share tips and tricks that I learn along the way and that I think can help other writers. I've always loved to share what I read as well. Many moons ago, I used to have a book review site called Bookworm Inc. and I absolutely loved doing that. But when I became an author myself 10 years ago, I just didn't feel comfortable reviewing other people's books necessarily, and in particular leaving reviews for books that I didn't enjoy. So my policy now is that I will only chat about a book if I've enjoyed it. If there's a book that I either didn't finish or that I didn't enjoy, then I will not be talking about it on my channel. I do think that reviews should be honest. That's just my policy that I have as an author and wanting to always support my fellow authors, because I know how hard it is out there and how tricky it is to get reviews and how it feels to get a bad review. So yeah, honest reviews, really, really important. And I am honest, I just won't talk about books I don't really enjoy. Right, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? Well, I'm quite an eclectic reader. So as I said, I'm a romance writer, so I read all kinds of romance for a start, but I also really love lots of non-fiction books, historical, children's books, young adults books. I really enjoy autobiographies in particular. What else? Sci-fi I quite like. Fantasy I love, especially fantasy romance. I'm really getting into that at the moment, and I've been reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, as I believe everybody has. So if you've got any recommendations for anything that I would enjoy in that genre in particular, that would be completely awesome. I enjoy the odd thriller every now and again. I'm not really into horror, but I will read some horror and enjoy it. So basically there's a real mismatch here, and also because I am an author and because I'm also a freelance developmental editor, I can be quite analytical in my approach, and I do tend to critique books quite thoroughly when I'm reading them. So yeah, I think my views are kind of interesting for the community. Why do you love reading? That's the next one I'll answer. I love the escapism of reading. I just really, really love the fact that whatever's kind of going on, you can just completely escape into a book. You can pick it up and escape into another world in whatever genre is your favorite. I think that is completely amazing. I love that feeling of not being able to put a book down and staying up super late to finish it, or if not finish it, just get to the end of the really, really exciting part so that you know that your characters are okay, you know, to be left until the next day when you can carry on with it. It's just absolutely brilliant. What book or series got you into reading? I think I was quite a late starter reading, I believe, from what my parents have said. But I really enjoyed Roald Dahl. I remember when I started reading. Yeah, it was Roald Dahl and Enid Blyton I absolutely adored, especially anything about boarding schools. I really, really loved the boarding school ones like St. Clair's and Mallory Towers. And then as I got older, I really liked Judy Blume as well. That was great fun. So yeah, it was always very girly books, I think, when I was little. Yeah. What should we do next? When did you start reading? I already answered that. I mean, I always loved being read too. I've always loved stories. I think I just wasn't like the earliest of readers, if you like. Where do you read? Oh, okay, so I tend to read in bed. I read before going to sleep for quite a while, most nights, but if I'm feeling very, very decadent, then I will have a little bit of a read during the day as well, usually on the sofa or sometimes out here in the garden, but I never really last very long in the garden. I'm either too hot or too cold, or I want a drink, which reminds me, I left my cup of tea inside the house. Ugh, what a numpty. Or bugs, the bugs. So yeah, that doesn't usually work very well for me. So usually either on the bed or on the sofa. I tend to carry a book with me absolutely everywhere I go as well. So I've been known to read while I'm waiting in a queue at the supermarket. Yeah, if I'm waiting in the car for somebody, if I'm, waiting for an appointment, whatever, I've always got a book with me that I can whip out at a second's notice and read a few pages. What kind of books do you like to read? Yeah, I already kind of mentioned that as well. I really like, women's fiction and romance. I read an awful lot of, because I love them, but also because I think it's important to read widely in the genre that you write as well. I love mythology, in particular Greek mythology. So the fact that there are so many awesome books like the Song of Achilles and Circe, and there's all stories about kind of Medea. I've got one of those coming, and Medusa and everything. Like, I am loving that trend, cannot get enough of that trend, and I am trying to consume as much of that as is humanly possible. Absolutely love that. Okay, so let's move on to the oldie questions now. I think I've done all the ones that I want to from the newbie ones. So how long have you been part of the BookTube community? So I started my channel, I'm wanting to say March 2022. So it's been like a year and a third or a quarter or something. We're not doing maths here. This is not a maths test on this channel. It's been over a year anyway. So like I say, I'm mainly over on the AuthorTube side of things, but I've got lots of wonderful friends in the BookTube community. In particular, Margaret Pinard, if you haven't checked out her channel yet, do. She has got a really great new series at the moment. It's called Fireside Chats. And basically, it's the most wholesome thing on the internet. She's there with a different person for each episode, and they have tea and they chat and they kind of do something creative. They might write like a little bit of poetry, or they might write some reviews of books that they've read, because we all know how important reviews are for authors, and they're just chatting about book things. Margaret is the queen of books that nobody has ever heard of as well, so definitely make sure that you check out her channel. Another one of my favorite is Kat's Novel Adventures. I love Kat. I think my aim in life is to meet her and just hang out with her for the day. She is awesome. Her channel is brilliant, and she takes part in loads and loads of really cool reading challenges. So definitely check her out as well. What was your biggest misconception before starting BookTube? I think I thought that everybody would have piles and piles of new books like every month, and everybody would spend like hundreds of pounds each month on loads of beautiful new hardbacks and things like that. And there are channels like that. There are definitely channels like that, and that's awesome. Those books are gorgeous. But there are also plenty of channels with people who aren't gonna spend that amount, and they go and they find their little free libraries. I do love a video about little free libraries, I have to say, or they'll go to their regular library and they'll get books out. They'll go to charity shops or thrift stores, as I know they're called in the US, and and make up their collection that way. So they might not necessarily have the most beautiful hardbacks with the amazing dust jackets, but some of them have just got such cool covers, like the vintage covers and things like that. So I really like that as well. So I think it's a very big community on BookTube, and it is quite diverse with the ways that people get their books and the different editions that they get and things like that. So that's kind of cool. What are some books that you were introduced to because of BookTube? I am terrible for hearing about a book and then having to get it and becoming a little bit obsessed with that. So the best one that I was introduced to was Carrie Soto is Back, and Nicole's Bookish Nook introduced me to that book. I adore Nicole. Make sure that you go and check out her channel. Anybody that I mentioned, by the way, the links to their channels will be down in the description below. Nicole is awesome. She's my buttercup. I adore her. She's a writer and she's a reader, so you get both sides of that, although her channel is more BookTubey than AuthorTubey. But she recommended Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I just absolutely loved that book. That was completely brilliant. I believe the Song of Achilles was another one, which was probably BookTube recommended, and I adored. And A Court of Thorns and Roses, oh my goodness, I've read the first 3 and I've got the next 2 coming for my birthday next week, so that is going to be really fun. Yeah, so basically I am easily influenced, people. And the last question, oh no, there's one before that. Sorry, I will answer this. What is something that frustrates you about BookTube? It doesn't particularly frustrate me, but I think that you do have to hunt out sometimes the channels that do things a little bit differently, especially if you are watching the really big booktubers. Like, for example, everybody's reading Yellowface at the moment, and is it Fourth Wing? Now, I'm getting both of those for my birthday as well, so it's not that I've got anything against those books. It's really nice to have different recommendations and books that you might not have heard of before, so that not everybody's speaking about the same books. So another reason why I love Margaret Pennard is, as I said, she's the queen of books nobody has ever heard of, and she really hunts out those really cool editions of really odd stuff, and I love it. I love it. So now we'll get to the final question, and that is, what is your hope for the future of BookTube? I just hope that everybody's having fun. I hope that everybody is loving being on BookTube and sharing their favorite books and chatting about books, and that we get plenty of diversity from all sorts of different authors writing all sorts of different genres, and making sure that that there is a space to talk about all authors, to talk about self-published authors, to talk about like indie kind of published authors, and by that I mean, like, you know, very small publishing houses, as well as, you know, the big names and everything, and that there's real representation, you know. Yeah, I just want all authors to be able to have their books read and discussed, and for people to be able to find out about the books that they really resonate with and that they want to read. There we go. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this today. I cannot believe that it has taken me like well over a year to film this newbie tag, but never mind. Better late than never is what we say. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure that you boop that like button for me, and subscribe if you're not already, because we have so much fun over here, and it would be great if you could stick around, and I will catch you in the next one.